What's up, everyone? This is Nate, and I am back with another director top 5. Now, I'm going to do a couple of more of these before moving on to some other top 5 rankings. I'll be doing some actors, some actresses. And at the end of the year, I'm going to do like my top 10 of the year, bottom 5, biggest surprises, things like that. But for now, I got a couple more directors I want to do. One is a director that I feel is underrated. That'll be next week. And this week, I'm doing one that was requested by my partner, Alex. He asked me to do my top 5 Ivan Reitman films. Going into it, I had to look at the filmography. I had not seen a lot of his movies, to be honest. I had seen 3 or 4, and that was it. So I actually, over the last couple weeks, watched almost all his whole filmography. I didn't get to 1 or 2 of the movies, but I feel like I had a top 5 that I don't think those other ones would have cracked it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Before I do, if you would, please consider subscribing to the channel. Go ahead and hit that bell icon. That way you get notified every time new videos drop. If you could just give me a thumbs up down below, it helps the video get seen. And of course, leave me a comment. What are your top 5 Ivan Reitman films? Now, most of these I don't have on disc. I actually own 3 of the ones that are on my list. I own digitally through Vudu, and then the other 2 I do have on disc. So I'm going to start with my number 5, and this was one that I just watched recently, and I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I had never seen it before, and it was a movie called Twins, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito. I had never seen Twins. It was one of those, like, I owned it on Vudu for years, and I just never got around to seeing it. I had a good time with it. I thought it was funny. Watching through Ivan Reitman's filmography, he's tended to do a lot of high-concept comedies, and this one's no different. It's a really weird storyline. But I did enjoy, I think Danny DeVito is really funny in this, but Arnold actually got some of my biggest laughs out of the whole movie. I thought, like when he was learning how to drive the car, I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. Kelly Preston is in there. I'm a big fan of hers. And yeah, I had a fun time with that one. So my number 5 is going to be Twins. My number 4 is one I just finished watching. It turns out I had seen this one before. That is going to be a movie called Draft Day. So Draft Day is totally different than most of the other Ivan Reitman movies that I watched here, in that it's not a comedy at all. And the whole thing is centered in one day at the NFL draft. It has a crazy good cast. You got Kevin Costner, Jennifer Garner, Dennis Leary, Frank Langella, Sam Elliott, Ellen Burstyn, Chadwick Boseman. Like, all these people are just popping up left and right throughout the movie. Follows Kevin Costner. He's the GM of the Cleveland Browns, and he basically, you follow him maneuvering through not only life, as it turns out he is about to become a father, as well as dealing with his mom and his dad who recently passed, and then the NFL draft. I'm a big sports fan. I do love the NFL, so getting to kind of get this behind the scenes look of all these guys it doesn't sound exciting on paper, a bunch of guys talking on the phone making deals, but it's really good, and he does a lot of creative stuff with the direction, a lot of split screens and all kind of stuff that he didn't really do in his other movies. So if you haven't seen Draft Day, I actually think it's really good, and I would say see it. So that's going to be my number 4. Now, my number 3 is one I just recently watched as well. This is one of the ones I do have on disc, and that's going to be Stripes. I had never seen Stripes before. I watched it for the first time, and I thought it was funny. It didn't make me like crack up laughing throughout, but there was a lot of funny parts in it. A really good cast there too. Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, John Candy, and then of course Sean Young is in there. PJ Souls from Halloween. Another one that's like a kind of a high concept comedy, like this guy who's like a bum, Bill Murray, and he ends up joining the army and convincing his friend to join the army with him. And then they end up going like on a mission in Germany, and I'm like, what is going on here? But it was funny. It was funny. I had a good time. It was a fun group. Like, all the people in the movie are interesting characters, and yeah, it was a good time. So I like Stripes. I thought it was good. It was definitely better than some of the other ones I watched, let me tell you. All right, my number 2 is going to be a classic, and I don't have this on disc, but I will, because there's a 4K that is coming out for it relatively soon, and that's going to be Kindergarten Cop. I absolutely love Kindergarten Cop. I watched it when I was a kid. I liked it when I was a kid. I've watched it as an adult, and I liked it as an adult. We actually covered this movie on the Action Movie Guys podcast, and it is great. I love it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, again, playing an undercover police officer who goes undercover as a school teacher. And, you have the comedy of him having to interact with the children. There's a cute little love story in there. And it turns out, like, the main bad guy is the dad of one of his students. And it's just It's super 90s, early 90s, but I absolutely love it. So my number 2 is Kindergarten Cop. And then my number 1, of course, it is Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2 is not on my list because I think it's okay, but it's not my favorite movie. And I ended up liking all these other ones better. I thought Ghostbusters, it was on there for a while until I started watching other ones and then it moved down. But Ghostbusters 1, I absolutely love. Definitely 80s staple, classic 80s film, great comedy, good cast, of course. Bill Murray, again, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd. Like, you know, so many iconic lines and iconic scenes. It had to be my number 1. It's definitely his best movie, in my opinion. Unfortunate that he kind of peaked in the early 80s. Everything after that, like, I did watch No Strings Attached and 6 Days and 7 Nights and My Super Ex-Girlfriend. I didn't hate any of the ones I watched, but also was just like, they're just okay. So anyway, those are my top 5 Ivan Reitman movies. I'm gonna go with those are the picks. Ghostbusters number 1, Kindergarten Cop number 2, Stripes number 3, Draft Day number 4, 5 Twins. Those are my top 5 favorite Ivan Reitman films. So yeah, check those out if you haven't seen them. I'm sure most of you have seen most of them, but if not, check them out. And I will be back next week with my final director spotlight for a little while. And I'm going to be doing a director named Edward Zwick, a director that I really enjoy, and I'll be showing my 5 favorite from him. Until then, take it easy.